We used to have a lot of fun generally. You know, I mean, King Crimson's got this sort of aura of sort of, you know,
being serious.
this sort of big serious, and but when we would play live, we were just goofing around a lot of the time, especially the improvisations. You know, just having fun basically.
What sort of voices did you have in your tape library at that time? Did you have several racks?
It was just a straight factory Mellotron. You know,
really?
No mods at all or anything.
Well, for the voices, what were the voices?
Voices. You mean actual?
No, on the tapes. You know, what were the? I mean, everybody knows, you know, the Mark II strings and 3 violins. And,
right.
You know, well, if you know them, I don't even know them myself.
Essentially, I just used the strings and the brass live anyway. Also, fortunately, they're very easy to go from one to the other. It's just, what is it, the A-B switch, so you can just go straight from one to the other, luckily.
Yeah, same station.
Yeah, it's just, yeah.
So no recycling?
No, that's really fortunate because, you know, on Mars, for instance, I would start off with the strings and then just switch into the brass. And good piece of design work.
Is it Mellotron Flutes on Moonchild in the background there? It sounds very dreamy, and it's hard to...
No, it isn't. There's a Mellotron string on there. Da-dee-da-da. That was the line I was trying to think of earlier. Except on violin, but there was a record. I played a recorder actually. It wasn't Mellotron Flutes.
Okay.
There was a recorder, and actually, you know what? There may have been one at one point where there might have been a Mellotron flute, because I think I played a recorder line, and I think I might have played a Mellotron flute as a like a little harmony on it or something like that. You could be right, but.
I'm just guessing, like, it's hard to tell even with headphones. It sounds very dreamy.
Yeah, to me, the lead-in from Moonchild in the chord is what makes, in a lot of ways, the intro in the chord. I mean, you're kind of lulled into this kind of light dancing music, and a very powerful Mellotron comes on. But I never picked that up in your live music. I mean, you guys never seem to ever play Moonchild in transition in the chord. All of the live stuff I've heard.
I don't think we ever did Moonchild live.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, that whole improvisation was essentially done as sort of a filler because we needed to fill about 7 or 8 minutes.
It's for publishing reasons, right? Well, song titles.
That separating that was some ruse to get more publishing by having these subtitles, you know, dance at the publishing.
When you say filler, I mean, you didn't have enough material to fill up the album?
Well, we didn't have enough original material, because live we were doing things like Get Thy Bearings, which was a Donovan.
But you had things like Trees, and maybe that came after. Because
but it was sort of not developed. I think that was actually...
It's actually a wonderful melody. It's too bad. It's really delightful.
Yeah, but as I say, I think that came after the Crimson sessions, and we wanted to keep it all original. We did, as I say, we were doing Get Thy Bearings and
Drop In.
Donovan song.
Travel Weary Cat.
Oh, the Drop In. Well, that was a Fripp song. Yeah, we could have done that, but for some reason we decided not to do it. But we just, you know, as I say, it was all set up for Moonchild.
That last bit of Moonchild, it sounds like it was. Like I prefer listening to it in darkness. It seems like when you recorded it, it sounds like you should have been recording it in darkness, was it?
Well, it's funny you should say that, because in fact I was in darkness because the vibes were set up in a vocal booth, and for some reason, and when we went out to do the improvisation, I couldn't see Robert and Michael at all. So it's totally actually in darkness. I was just on headphones, so there was no eye contact at all between us. I think Mike and Bob could see each other, but I couldn't see either of them. So it's just purely, the interaction was just purely through headphones by ear. So maybe that's what you're picking up on.
It just does have that sort of feeling that it should be in darkness. When
right. Well, I was, you know.
And it was live then. It seems like you were recording that part live.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's totally improvised. Yeah. We just picked up the instruments, you know, because the drums still have this, you know, really muted sound that they had on Moonchild. So we just basically went back out in the studio and without Greg, I think he was. I don't know where. But anyway,
there was an interesting story coming there. Come on.
I don't know. I can't remember how that happened, but it ended up just being the 3 of us. might be a story there somewhere, but
How do the other members of King Crimson feel about Mellotrons in general? Like, obviously, you must have had some affinity for them because you were bringing it into the group. But, I mean, and Robert obviously took a liking to them later on, but how did Greg and Michael and Peter, did they like, I mean, they probably had to carry them at some point, or, you know. How did they, I guess, how was it?
We actually did have a roadie by that time. I assume that they liked it. I mean, you know, we had, it's quite remarkable really. We had very little, there was virtually no arguing, or there was no disagreements over anything musical. You know, the rehearsals, there was just none of the sort of typical bickering and trying to get one's own bits in and all this sort of thing that you hear about other certain prog rock bands around at the time.
Whoever they may be.
So I mean, there was never a question of you know, do we have to have a Mellotron or anything like that, or you know, or not liking it, or even saying it was great. It was just there, you know.
You just wanted it was part of it.
Just part of it, and it was
like they never would ever get frustrated at the time of, you know, drop in tuning or things like that.
Well, it was
that blasted thing again. You know, I can.
Oh yeah, I mean, sorry, John, but I used to curse the thing quite frequently, especially after gigs, you know.
Yeah.
But the tuning, you know, certain tuning things were a consideration, and you know,
More notes you
talking
play.
talked to Martin about that earlier. There are certain ways around it by, you know, double tracking, it's like with a very speed, just to try and compensate a little bit. I mean, it's part of the charm of the Mellotrons, the little tuning things here and there.
Did the Mellotron on its own create any separate crowd reaction, or to where you were getting letters or what have you just pointed directly to your Mellotron playing? Was there
not that I recall, but it was, the way we were using it was quite, I mean, combined with the lighting effects, especially when we did Mars, it was quite a sort of a stunning piece live. And, you know, nobody had really heard anything like that, and didn't really know what the instrument was. And but I don't remember getting any letters or anything like that.
My guess, it would just take people by surprise.
Yeah, we did.
When you played live, did Peter ever play the Mellotron too? Like you had 2 or sometimes 3 on the road with you. Did you ever use 2 at a time?
No. But Peter was usually out doing the lights or something like that.
So I heard somewhere at the Marquee, when you guys played the Marquee a lot at one point, that it sounds like, I've got one thing from the Marquee, and it sounds like there's 2 things going, almost like an air raid siren or something going on, but that's from a sound effects thing. So.
He might, that's a good point. What would that have been?
Maybe VCS3.
No,
It's possible. Yeah, I think he might have done some kind of sound effect on that. Yeah, actually, yeah, quite possibly. But it wasn't.
It was at the very end of Mars
Right.
on a Marquee session, and at the end, you know, everybody's going crazy at the end of Mars and everything. You can hear an air raid siren. Some of it might be, you know, scraping the plectrum over the strings.
We would do anything that they had at disposal. I mean, I used to have something like this. It wasn't a Premier. I think it was a Watkins or something like that, but a spring reverb unit on top of the Mellotron. And that's, you know, so in order to get the explosion at the end, I just basically pounded the Mellotron with the...
That's where the scratches came from.
Could you demonstrate, actually, with this one?
Okay, who's walking home?
That's funny.
So,
You can hit John with it. Thanks, Mike. English get out.
How did Michael record the milk bottle at the beginning of Sweet in the Sea, right? Is it a brush inside a milk bottle that's going shh, 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 shh?
oh God.
It's very strange.
So there's some change of... I don't think there's a milk bottle on Sweet.
Really?
I know one thing in Birdman, the sort of the weird little sounds is, I used a bottle, had a Leighton electric guitar on its back, and balanced a bottle on the strings over the pickup, and just rocks the bottle, and you get this kind of clicking, rocking. It's got electric guitar, so try something. We use that effect on that.